Hello and welcome back to the SRL TCR League here for season number 11. We've only got 2 more rounds to go until the championships are decided, and it is looking to be like it is going to come down to this one for a number of those championships. It could be decided tonight at the penultimate round of asking here at Mid-Ohio. It has been a fantastic season that started all the way back at the start of April. Donington Park was our first round of asking. We have gone across countries throughout the course of this season. We are back for the second time in the United States of America on what I would argue as one of the more challenging circuits of the season. We are here for the Mid-Ohio track. We head to Zandvoort in a week's time for the finale. Season number 12 will be kicking off the following week. No preseason this time, so if you haven't done so already, make sure you're getting yourself across to the SRL Discord and you are signing up for season number 12. It is bound to be another great season of competition, a driver-voted circuit in that one as well. So it is going to be a great 10-round season yet again going into the 12th season of competition. But here, season number 11, we head to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, a circuit that is going to prove challenging. Undulation throughout the second half of the lap, of course. Some heavy braking zones at the start with turns 1 and turns 2, of course, into turn 4 as well, before you then start climbing up hills, dropping down dips into the S's along the back end of the circuit through the carousel. Of course, is a tricky circuit for our drivers to get the hang of. They have got 10 more minutes to get the hang of it, though, before we head across to our qualifying session here tonight. It has been a mixed bag of qualifying for pole sitters. 3 have gone the way of Dan Mould, and with his most recent pole at Thruxton, Gordon Haig also 3 pole positions this season. And last week at Thruxton was the first time that Gordon Haig was able to convert his pole position into an overall race victory, taking home his first overall victory of the season. Only the second time that Haig has gone on to win in class over the course of the previous 16 races so far this season. We then have a look at Daniel Downing and Ben Oucher, because they've both got 1 pole position apiece, but they are not looking like the fastest out there right now. 13th and 15th in this practice session. It is Haig, the fastest of all our drivers out there once again this evening so far. Having a look then at our individual championships, because there is some fighting still to play for, but there are some championships that are going to be wrapping themselves up early here tonight. Matt Pierce is looking to dominate the amateur field of drivers. However, he is not here today, which means that Christian Larson, who is here, Torben Mayo, who is here, are going to have an opportunity to close that almost 100-point gap between themselves and keep their hopes alive going into the final round of asking at Zandvoort in 1 week's time. Chris Evans then sits a further 100 points back, definitely out of any championship contention in 4th, 7 points clear of Hastad. James then sits in 6th, Adam Marshall say. It is Simon 8th. Following him is Malcolm McCaig, rounding out your top 10 in your amateur field of drivers. Shamoy Samuel sits in 11th, and it is Andy Littler at the back of the order of drivers who have competed this season. We then jump to our Pro-Am field of drivers. Not a lot of Pro-Ams heading out there today. No Thomas Coombe, who is leading the championship. No Lucas Henschel, who is second in the championship. There is, however, a David Price. He is here today, the highest of your Pro-Ams that is racing. The only other two are Josh Taylor, who sits in 6th, and Chris London, who sits in 7th. They're the only 3 Pro-Ams that are going to be heading out tonight and taking points onto the board. That does mean that Price is going to get past Henschel, who's only 1 point ahead of him. But could he catch up, possibly pass Thomas Coombe going into the finale in a week's time? It's going to be wondering what could happen there. Paul Hurley sits in 4th in that championship ahead of Vigod Olsen-Leah. Then, like I say, it's Taylor and London. They're 5 points separating each other. They'll be trying to get past Olsen-Leah, potentially even Hurley this evening, but their fight very much between themselves there. Marcus Gesdal then sits in 8th position over 100 points further back. We then have Stuart Gibbons and Dammy Herber rounding out the top 10 in your Pro-Ams. Alan McCain, the back of the order from drivers that have competed. We then jump across into your semi-pros. This is your biggest field of drivers heading out there tonight once again. 12 semi-pros are going to be heading out onto the track tonight, which I think is the majority of the semi-pro field. Bradley Sellers leads the semi-pro championship right now, 70 points clear of Tony Walker. There is an opportunity for Seller to take the championship tonight. However, he is not looking like the fastest in this practice session right now. Demis Titular sits then in 3rd position ahead of Carl Hardy, who I think at this stage we could start discounting them at this point. Ronald de Jong 5th in the championship ahead of Daniel Lewis. JB Dejay in 7th ahead of Peter Van Gool. Garrity sits in 9th position. Craig Walters rounding out the top 10 in your semi-pros. It's then Mikalainen ahead of Crowther and Moldecleave. Like I said, most of your semi-pros out. In fact, 12 of your 13 semi-pros that have competed this season are out there today, which is, as I say, the biggest field. And if I'm not mistaken, it is only, obviously no Stephen Fry, but I don't think Moldecleave is here looking through the list. Yes, so it's Moldecleave is the only one to the bottom of the semi-pro order that's not here today. The rest of them all taking part. The Pro Championship then, only 6 of those are heading out tonight. Kim Borkland is one of them, as is Daniel Downing, Haig and Outra inside your top 4. So, Kim Borkland, currently running around 801 points, has opened up the gap over Downing and, crucially, his teammates as well after some poor weeks from them. Downing sitting about 29 points, I think it is, behind Borkland right now. Gordon Haig running around in 3rd position, sitting 38 points clear of Ben Oucher. It's then a massive jump down to Dan Mould. That's where the championship is no longer really involved in. He's also not here today, unfortunately. John Brown then sits in 6th out of Chris McIntosh. Mark Draper sits in 8th. It is then Braden Sagasser in 9th position. Jack Brown rounding out the top 10 in your pros. Samuel Sproul, the last of the drivers who have put points onto the board this season. And then, obviously, it has to be the team of Gordon Haig and Kim Borkland of the Sim Racing Norway by Poly Academy, who are leading the team's championship. They are just dominating that team's championship as it stands through the course of the season. They have done all season long, but they are almost 500 points clear over second. Second position, though, well, that is de Jong and Titular, who's doing the work there in Hydro Racing Forces. 1,080 points between them. They're sitting 74 points clear of SRL Green, who are in 3rd. SRL Purple sits in 4th, and some good results recently from Carl Hardy and Peter Van Gool. They have found their result clothing team in with 921 points in 5th position. JC Academy is sitting in 6th out of the Blitz Boys Motorsport. Pole position in 8th. And the Breakdance and sits in 9th position clear of the Sim Racing Norway Amateur Endurance Team. The one-man team in the end of Dan Mould sitting in 11th for SRL Rosso. It's then the Sim Racing Norway by Bill Og Motorbloggen in 12th ahead of another one of their sister teams, the Sim Racing Norway by Eek Centuit Selgeford in 13th position. Blade Design sits 14th position in the championship ahead of Cool Camel Racing, driven by a sole driver in Matt Pierce. Lumen Motorsport sits on 16th ahead of Snell's Pace Racing Team. And the final team that taken part this season, Crest Autosport in Alan McCain and Stephen Fry, sit on 18th and last in those that have scored some points and have competed this season. We head then into the penultimate round of competition here at the wonderful Mid-Ohio circuit. We've got 13 corners to set ourselves up for our evening of racing. If you're joining us for the first time, we have 2 races coming your way this evening. We have a 20-minute race that is going to be set by our qualifying order. We then have a reversed top 10 for race number 2. The results of race number 1 will be taken into race number 2. The top 10 drivers will be flipped on their head, with the 10th position runner starting in first and your race 1 winner starting in 10th. That race, to allow and accommodate for the invert and allow those drivers to make their way back through the field, is going to be 25 minutes of racing action. We'll try to have some words with some drivers between the 2 races. We'll definitely have some words with drivers after the 2 races, so make sure you are sticking around for all of that as well. Only 1 week left to go after tonight's event, of course. If you're watching for the first time this season and you're so sad that we're always at the end of the season, well, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button over on either of the YouTubes, on SRL TV or Joseph Wright Broadcast, and hit the follow button over on the Joseph Wright Twitch page. Wherever you are watching here this evening, make sure that you are following along. You're hitting that subscribe button, hitting that follow button, because you will be notified when we go live. We have the finale of the season next week, next Friday, as we head to Zandvoort for the 10th round of competition. No waiting for season number 12, though. We go kicking off for round number 1 in 2 weeks' time, and that is due to a 2-week mid-season break. I do apologise. I'm going on holiday. You can blame it all on me. How dare I go away for a couple of weeks? But we do have a mid-season break for what will be the first planned time. It does mean that we are not going to have pre-season events. So if you're watching along, make sure you get across into your SRL Discord. Get yourself signed up for season number 12, because those grids fill quick. And when the spaces are gone, they are gone. Make sure you're getting down onto the track for the 12th season of competition. Look at that. All the drivers have decided my spiel is enough. They're bored of listening to it. I'm bored of listening to it, to be honest. Let's go out onto track here for the qualifying session. 15 minutes go on the board. Once that timer ends, drivers do not get the opportunity to finish their current lap. They will just go back to pit lane and prepare for the first race of the day. So just keep an eye on that as we come towards the end of the qualifying session. Drivers will be trying to push all the way to the end, but you might see cars coming off the track with about a minute or so left to go. That's because they cannot finish active laps. They just finish when the checkered flag falls. This is Gordon Haig. He is, he was fighting right at the top of the championship. He is sitting in the top 3 of that Pro Championship, of course, going into this evening. But he has fallen down a little bit over the course of the season. He's taken an equal amount of pole positions to Dan Mould. 3 apiece. They're the most pollingest drivers? I've always said winningest drivers. Is pollingest drivers something that I should say? Probably not. They've always been the drivers with the lead foot in the qualifying session. 3 pole positions apiece. No Dan Mould today. Can Gordon Haig go back-to-back pole positions like he did at Imola into Watkins Glen? Can he do it here at Thruxton, Mid-Ohio? We are going to ride on board with the Sim Racing Norway by Polyakemi machine. He is the first man out there that will be putting in a time onto our timing tower that will start to appear on the left as drivers get times onto the board. We head into turn number 2, get the power down, and it's a bit of a relaxing straight here. It's probably the most relaxing straight on the entire circuit. Yes, you've got a kink here to think about, but it's not really much work. Now is when the true work of Mid-Ohio begins. You've got to get onto the brakes for turn number 4, swinging across to the right. You can see that camber that you've got into the corner, a little bit of a brush with the curbing. We now go up the hill into 5. We drop back down as we come over the crest, and it's the right-hander of 6 before we enter the S's. Line it up right here. You've got to cut to the left as we climb yet another hill, drop down yet again as we go through turn number 8 and into 9, onto the back straights here. again. Got that little bit of a kink of it. You've got to rise on the exit of 9 there. Very easy to send yourself onto the grass on the exit. Set yourself up for turn number 11 now. You swing across to the left, and that sets you up for the carousel. The long right-hander to the right, turn number 12. Hey, keeping it very tight to the right-hand side of the circuit. Foot back down again for turn number 13 as you kink to the left and up towards the timing line. And there is a lap of the Mid-Ohio circuit. Gordon Haig flies past our start-finish rate camera. He is the fastest man on the board. Borkland behind him was not able to benefit from the tow and go any faster. How about a few of our other pro drivers crossing the timing line? Not a great lap time for Ben Oucher. A big slide there from De Jong with throwaway time. Carl Hardy on the board there. I don't know what's happened to the Result Racing team lately, but they have been absolutely taken over with their driving at the moment. Hardy, Van Gaal find themselves up the order right now, and Hardy only just off of a provisional pole position time. Those two drivers in that Result team are doing an absolutely fantastic job as of late. We could see some true pace going for both of those into next season, potentially a championship opportunity in the semi-pro field for both of them. Out of turn number 2 goes Bradley Sellers, the 93 machine. He's leading the semi-pro championship this season, and he has some good points to his name. He'll be hoping to get a good qualifying session in, but no valid lap time on the board as of yet, and he takes this one slow as well for Sellers. He didn't have the best of practice sessions. Can he find the pace here in the qualifying session? Luke James climbs over the hill as we go in towards the S's. In fact, yeah, that was through... Now I'm lost where we are. No, that was through the exit of the S's, now into turn number 11. This is the first ever visit I've had of Mid-Ohio. It's a track that I am learning just as much as some of our drivers are having to learn out there, or they have been over the course this week. There they go again! What has taken over the Result closing team drivers? Peter Van Gaal taking his first ever class win of the season just 2 weeks ago at Snetterton. He won again race number 1 at Thruxton. Race 2 was won by his teammate Hardy. Are they going for wins again in that semi-pro field? They certainly look like it. Tony Walker splits them, the two teammates, though, as it stands. And as it stands, of course, we do need to correct that data on the bottom so we get our overall positions on that position. There we go. And not our class results right now. We're yet to see times from Chris Evans and Bradley Sellers. The other 23 drivers have all got times onto the board in the opening 5 minutes of competition. Chris London of the Blitz Boys machine are the fastest of the Pro-Am field. There's only 3 of them out there this evening. London, Taylor and Price, and all 3 of them find themselves together. 11th, 12th and 13th. Remember, when we get into the race, the top 10 is crucial for a good start into race number 2. We shall have to see how it all turns out in that one. We come through turn number 12 here, the carousel. For Chris London, we exit turn number 12, turn number 13, I should say, and up towards the timing line. Turn number 1, Daniel Downing has improved, gone 3rd fastest. London finds himself up the order in that Pro-Am field. He's 5th fastest for the Blitz Boys machine, and that is a very strong lap time indeed. Currently, in a 1 minute 27 sort of lap time, you're looking at your top, I would say, 17, really. Within a second, 1 second, top 16 accurately, within 1 second there to Daniel Lewis. That's absolutely crazy. In a lap time, sort of a minute and a half, it is very, very tight out there. Drivers are struggling to find some space. In fact, right now, all the space is from the final sector. No one in the final sector right now. Now Titular goes into the final sector, but the whole train of drivers are following them through. There's no one really out there by themselves. JB Deshay, 14th fastest overall at the moment. He takes it nice and slow between turns number 3 and 4. In fact, that 3 being the kink there. as we now head up towards turn number 4. JB Dejay just taking it easy this lap. He'll get another couple of opportunities to go for it. Demis Titular through turn number 1 in the Hydro Race Racing Forces machine. He sits in the 22 machine, currently 3rd fastest of your semi-pros. Almost beaten there by Walter, beaten by Hardy. Look at this! Once again, I'm going to have to say, this is just because at the beginning of half of this season, Result Clothing Team were nowhere. And I hate to say it as a team to say, yeah, they weren't at all within the championship. I think that this in itself just shows that they have really, really picked it up over the course of this season. Somehow, somewhere, the Result Clothing Team are a force to be reckoned with in that semi-pro field. That is great news for them. Could they potentially fight Bradley Sellers for a semi-pro championship? Is going to ask. This is your championship on the right-hand side. Carl Hardy, he's out. He's 150 points away. He is a very far way away, but he does still have opportunity. Of course, we think, what was it, 3 weeks ago, before Peter Van Gool won at Snetterton, my memory serves me correctly, he was last of those that have put points in the semi-pro field. He was sitting last in the championship, and suddenly he's just taking victories and having huge amounts of pace. I don't know what the Result team have been eating for breakfast on a Friday morning, but whatever it has been is working for them. It really, really is working. Now, the amateur field of drivers are really going to be trying to take advantage tonight because there is no Matt Pearce out there. Remember, they could try and close that gap, I should say, to Pearce, who has dominated ever since Silverstone. He has won a race every single week, and apart from Snetterton, he has won both races every single week. He won 7 in a row before crashing out race number 2 at Snetterton. Larson took victory there. He won both races again in class at Thruxton last week, but there is no Matt Pearce tonight. 9 wins to his name so far this season. Can he reach double digits in a week's time? He'll certainly be hoping so to take that amateur championship. You know for certain he'll be in the Pro-Ams at the very least in season number 12. I would say there's even an argument for a potential semi-pros, because he has found himself inside the top 10 in race number 1. That's before the invert, before the craziness that the invert can cause. So I think that there is argument there that we might see him up in the semi-pros, but it might just be the one jump up to Pro-Ams for the start of next season. We'll have to wait and see who's jumping down on track, of course. There were a lot of new names over the course of this season. If I'm not mistaken, it was about 15 new drivers heading in for this season of competition. Well, it's been a great one. Gordon Haig, one of those new drivers, and he is dominating in qualifying. He's taken 3 pole positions over the first 8 rounds. Can he take 4 in 9? If he does so, he's on a potential for a 50% pole rate going into Zandvoort next week. Now, he is less than a 1/10 of a second clear of Peter Van Gool, and then only just over the 10th clear of Carl Hardy and Daniel Downing. Downing is going to want to try and find some pace. He needs to outscore Haig here. Crucially for both of those drivers, they're ahead of Kim Borkland. Borkland not getting the qualifying time that he would be hoping for at the moment. He's down in 6th position. Not what the championship leader in your pro field is going to be hoping for this evening. He'll be wanting to try and all but confirm himself the championship going into Zandvoort in a week's time. We watched the 911 machine of Gordon Haig coming through turn number 9 in towards this kink of 10 that goes to the right-hand side. It looks like he's backed out a little bit, though, as he heads up towards the start of a new lap. I believe that is Titular just up ahead on circuit. I am incorrect. That is De Jong just up ahead on circuit. Coming through the final corner and up towards the timing line. 3 minutes left to go in this qualifying session, and as I said at the beginning, drivers will only have until that timer ticks down to 0. They will not be able to finish the lap they are on which means it is crunch time for a number of drivers who will be hoping to improve on their time, including Daniel Downing, who is going to get one more attack of it here. We come up towards turn number 1. The SRL purple machine gets the curbing on the inside, and it pushes him onto the curbing on the outside. He'll be hoping that he can keep some pace up here, though, as we head up towards turn number 2. Slam on the brakes about the 2 cones on the left-hand side. Turns it in early to the right-hand side there. There's a reason I'm in the commentary box and not down on the racing track. I am slow. I am not a good driver. I would never be able to drive as quick as these guys, and sometimes the lines that they choose are ones that would not even flash through my mind at any point. Daniel Downing gets onto the braking zone of 4, however, about the 3 cones on the left-hand side there. Again, curbing on the inside. It bounces the curb around car just a little bit over that curbing, up over the crest of turn number 5, then get it back to the left-hand side so you can swing it in to turn number 6 and through the S's. Get the throttle down, make sure that you've lined up perfectly over the blind crest of 7 into the kink of 8. A crash in front, shouldn't catch Downing out. He'll get through turn number 9 without issue. Again, that little bit of the rise mid-corner, especially late corner there, can cause some issues, and I think it might do in the race. Into turn number 11 that goes to the left, up towards the carousel here. Can Daniel Downing find any improvement over his 27.088? No, he won't. It's a big kick out on the rear end for Daniel Downing. His qualifying will be over and done with. So it's Cole Hardy, so it's Van Gool. Gordon Haig here might be able to try find just a little bit of extra time on his last lap of asking, as other drivers are trying to get lap times on the board. Chris Evans not out in pit lane. He will start 25th this evening with our 4 amateur drivers, but just without a lap time on the board. McIntosh, the slowest of your pros. It's very much your pro drivers checkerboarding a lot of your other drivers right now. None of them, not a single one of your pro drivers is going to be starting alongside another pro driver this evening, which I think is the first time all season long that will have occurred. Can Kim Borkland find any extra time? He's got 20 seconds to get up to the timing line. Will he have enough here? I don't think Borkland is going to have quite enough time. 10 seconds actually, he might be able to here. It's not only about getting to the line, it's getting to the line with a quicker lap time. 5 seconds on the board. No, Borkland will not reach the timing line in time for the end of the qualifying session, which was a shame. It didn't look like it was a faster lap either. Right then, let's get ourselves started. Let's look at the grid for the first of our 2 races this evening. And for the 4th time this season, Gordon Haig is going to be starting on pole position for race number 1. Peter Van Gool will be starting alongside. He's looking for class victory number 3 in 3 rounds. Kyle Hardy will be starting in 3rd, ahead of Daniel Downing. Tony Walker will be 5th on the grid, ahead of Kim Borkland. It's then Dennis Titchener in 7th, ahead of Ben Oucher. Craig Walters in 9th, and your fastest Pro-Am of Chris London will be starting in 10th. John Brown in 11th, ahead of Marco Mikalainen in 12th position. JB Deshea will be starting in 13th, with Chris McIntosh on the grid in 14th position. Ronald de Jong will be 15th on the grid, ahead of Bradley Sellers. Josh Taylor on 17th, and Daniel Lewis alongside. David Price will be 19th position, ahead of your fastest amateur, Christian Larson, looking for win number 2 in class after taking win number 1 in Snetterton following Matt Pearce's demise. Deck Crowther will be starting 21st, ahead of Fraser Garrity, Torburn Mayo from 23rd position, and Luke James in 24th. Chris Evans didn't get a lap time on the board. He'll be starting in 25th position for the first race of the day. We get ready then for 20 minutes of racing action around the wonderful Mid-Ohio circuit. It is a new circuit for a lot of our drivers, a new circuit for myself. We have not been here in a couple of seasons of competition at the very least. Right then, it is not only learning curves for them, it's learning curves for me. Let's see who is going to be able to take victory in race number 1 of the day. It is lining up Gordon Haig on pole position, as I say, for the 4th time this season. Peter Van Gool starting alongside ahead of Kyle Hardy. Where have those result team come from? 2nd and 3rd on the grid. absolutely fantastic for both of them. The lights are up. 20 minutes are on the board. We prepare to go racing for round number 9. We are green and away for what will be the 17th race of the season. It looks like it might even be 3 wide. Coming up towards turn number 1 for the race lead. It is going to be Carl Hardy looking to get past Gordon Haig. He can't make that move. Hardy is past Van Gool on the start. It goes 3 wide up towards the hairpin as well. London straight through the middle. He overshoots the corner. Will keep Walters slow through that corner. In the background, they come through 2 by 2. They keep themselves all facing the right way, though. Somehow, I think that's the cleanest getaway. We've had no driver finding themselves in the wars towards the into any walls or into the gravel with any damage in this one. We're going to see what it's like up towards turn number 4, though. The front of your field has gone through without issue. Lewis looks to the inside of Dejay here. He now tries to carry it around the outside of turn number 5. We climb the hill. Can he place his name into his car into the inside of turn 6? He cannot. As we get through the middle section, and you can just see the waviness here. Lewis under attack from Price even through the S's into turn number 9. Lewis having to lift off just a little bit. Price can carry that speed through turn number 10 here. It is side by side between them as we come up towards the carousel. Lewis is able to hold on to it just up ahead, though, and will keep on to 18th position in this race. We come off of the opening lap of asking, and it is going to be Gordon Haig leading the way, half a second over Carl Hardy. Peter Van Gool in 3rd position overall. Behind, Mikalainen looks to the inside of Brown. Can't do that, unfortunately for him. Brown being 15th, Mikalainen in 16th position, just up ahead. And Downing makes a big jump to the inside of Demis Titchler up towards turn number 2. Is able to make the move into 7th position. Gets that overtake complete. Daniel Lewis is going to try and take the fight to Dec Crowther now. He has had a poor start to this one, has Lewis. Fallen down the order. He's now behind Crowther as well, down to 21st position. Only the amateurs behind him. He's going to place his nose up the inside of Dec Crowther, though. A little bit of a nudge. Crowther wobbles. That slows down James behind. Could that put James into a bit of a fight behind with your amateur field of drivers? Well, Chris Evans looking to try and take the fight to Torburn Mail to the inside of turn number 6 through the S's here. Mail is able to hold his car ahead, and Evans has to stay behind. Josh Taylor has issues. Big moment into the wall for Josh Taylor. And it looks like it was just a mistake from Taylor through the exit of 8. It looks like he's overdriven it. It's through 7. He wobbles. He gets onto the grass through 8. And for Josh Taylor, a big slam into the wall. That's his car done and dusted for the first race. He can get it quick repaired and back out on track, of course. But that is going to be a big problem for one of your 3 Pro-Am drivers. Only 3 of them out there. And he's not going to be taking advantage of this evening's racing. Right then, we get on to the 3rd lap of asking now. And Peter Van Gool is doing a good job of keeping about a half-second gap to Borkland right now. Borkland has got past Downing. Oucher has too, because Daniel Downing's had a bit of a slow getaway off the start of this one. He's down to 7th position right now. He's fallen 2 class positions through this race so far. We come over the crest of turn number 5 in the lead fight that is currently ongoing. Towards further down, Daniel Lewis is looking to try and now bring the fight back to those ahead of him. He's all over the rear end of Crowther. Could he try to make the move through past the 167 machine? We come through the S's. It's again slightly different lines from both of them, but it's not really a place to make any sort of move. It's about the run through 9 up towards 11. And at the moment, they're just going to have to follow through. Turn number 2, turn number 4, your best overtaking opportunities, of course. Crowther himself getting over the rear end of Geraghty. They're fighting out for 10th, 11th, and 12th in class. Here it goes. Surprisingly, that was not the button I meant to hit as I slammed onto an outside view button. Daniel Lewis tried to get up the inside of Dec Crowther there. It didn't quite work out for him, but it was a very late jumped to the inside, almost trying to take advantage of an opening that just suddenly appeared. It didn't quite work out for him. He didn't lose any time, though. He'll still be on the rear end of that fight, but he is still behind the Crowther and Garrity ahead. Out to turn number 2, through the kink of 3 that goes along the straight. It is Gordon Haig leading the way. And right now it is a Sim Racing Norway by Polyakemi sandwich of the Result Racing team. They're the top 4 filled by just those 2 teams at the moment, with Borkland looking to try and get past the semi-pros, the championship leader in your pros, wanting to take as many points away from his rivals as possible. He's doing that over Oucher and Downing. He'll want to do that against his teammate in Gordon Haig, who is looking to try and take overall win number 2. He did it for the first time at Thruxton after getting pole position twice this season and unable to convert it into race victory. He managed to do it last time out at Thruxton, and he is doing it so far so good here at Mid-Ohio. 6 minutes in, however, he has only been able to pull out about a 7/10, 6/10 advantage between himself and Carl Hardy, and Hardy himself is pushing hard. He goes purple. Borkland down a position to Walker, and here comes Oucher around the outside as well. He's had a slow run. I believe that was out of the final turn for Kim Borkland that has just set himself up to lose 2 positions. We'll go jump back and have a look. No, looks like it was turn number 1 for Borkland. What's happened? Oh, a big slide. A big slide from your championship leader. It lost him the position to Walker. Oucher was then able to carry a lot of speed as well. We saw that one on the live feed as he managed to make his way through. That is not what the championship leader will want. He falls from 4th overall to 6th overall, losing out to Walker and Oucher. Walker, though, now running in 3rd position in the semi-pros, now overall 4th. Is looking at trying to catch up to the 2 teammates in the Result Clothing team. Behind, Kim Borkland chases down Oucher once more, but that was Daniel Downing. He's trying to put the pressure now on the championship leader. Downing wants to get involved in a championship fight. He was last season. That season it was for the semi-pros. He went on to win it. He stepped up into the pros for the first time this season. He has taken the fight as hard as he can towards the front. But after missing out for multiple seasons from Kim Borkland, he is looking like he might just keep it together enough to finally take home that elusive championship victory. He's got to keep it together here today, though, to maintain the most amount of points that he possibly can before we then head in towards the racing in a week's time. We go through towards turn number 4. And it is Kim Borkland through the end of that long straight, chasing down on Ben Oucher, wanting to make his way through here. We get up towards the S's, and that Borkland at the moment unable to make any passes. David Price trying some alternate racing lines through 4 and 5 to close up to JB DeJay, potentially take the fight to him for 16th position. Price is second in that Pro-Am field of drivers, 3 of them here tonight. Chris London, 11th overall, is currently leading your Pro-Am field, and he is managing to keep Chris McIntosh, your pro driver, at bay. Issues for Josh Taylor. He was already a lap down. Well, he's just had some further issues up at turn number 1. Massive off there. Just like he obviously ran into the wall earlier on. That was a massive off at 1, though. He gets himself back on. Marko Mikalainen to the inside of Bradley Sellers up towards turn number 1, and he gets that position. Sellers, though, looking to try and do the switch across on the exit, carry the speed up towards 2. It's going to be defensive early doors from Mikalainen. He then realises Sellers wasn't close enough to really make the overtake and the lunge back through, so he gets back onto a nice normal racing line. Sellers, though, is going to try and carry that speed, leading the semi-pro field. He's all the way down in 15th, the podium in the semi-pro, all in the top 5 right now, so it's not going the way that he would hope for either. He'll also miss out on the invert, which will go the way of Craig Walters, keeping 6 semi-pros inside the top 10. Michaelainen and Sellers, the first of your semi-pros not inside your top 10 there. Alternate racing lines through 4 and 5 from Sellers to try and tuck his way past Michaelainen. But this middle part of the circuit, it's just not conducive to overtaking. It is very much follow the leader as you come through and wait for the opportunity to open up towards the end of the lap or even the start of the next lap. We are about halfway through this race here, just under 10 minutes left to go in our 20-minute race number 1. We're also going on to the 8th of a predicted 14 laps of asking. So we are now 7 laps done, 7 laps to go, according to my predictions. We come up towards turn number 1 once again. That gap between Michaelainen and Sellers, 0.3 of a second as they come through. Michaelainen definitely confirming himself as the position ahead. Is side by side between Borkland and Oucher. Borkland trying to find his way back up the order towards those semi-pros. Oucher holds the inside line though. He's going to try and carry the speed through turn number 2. On the exit, Oucher does have more of an overlap. It's the Elantra versus the Audi. The kink of turn number 3, benefiting Oucher with the shorter racing line. Borkland trying to squeeze Oucher to a very tight run into the braking zone of 4. They are going to run side by side into 5 here. Oucher's got to carry it all the way along the way. Round the outside, he's not going to be able to do so. And Downing now tries to get that door open through turn number 5. He has to slot in behind, but Borkland back up to 5th position, back up ahead of all of his championship rivals, discounting Gordon Haig, who's continuing to lead here. But that lead is down to 0.4 of a second. The 3 semi-pros in Hardy, Van Gool and Walker are not letting Gordon Haig rest for a moment here. Yes, they are in different racing classes, but if you're watching for the first time this season and tuning in for the first time, first of all, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the follow button, but also just know that our drivers, yes, they are racing different classes, but they take points from their overall race results, which means that Kyle Hardy is looking up at Gordon Haig and thinking, yeah, you're a pro driver, but you're some extra points that I could use to try and pull myself back into the championship fight, especially with Bradley Sellers all the way down in 15th position here. That gap, 0.4 of a second as we head towards, head along on lap number 9. Daniel Lewis, who has not had an evening to remember so far. Poor qualifying, even worse start to race number 1. He's just upping around this very challenging Mid-Ohio circuit. He is chasing down the amateurs of Larson and James, who he's fallen behind all the way down to 22nd position. Josh Taylor still running out there a lap down. He is looking at taking the points for 25th place, of course. We come in towards turn number 4. It's a little bit deep from Larson. Lewis trying now to get his nose in, but here comes Torban Mayo, trying to take advantage of all of this as well. But as it all is said and done, as they come out of turn number 6 and into the S's, it remains as they were. Daniel Downing is only a few tenths of a second off of Ben Oucher as we come through the carousel. Can the SRL Purple Machine, the reigning semi-pro champion, take it to the new boy in SRL in Ben Oucher? Not a new boy in terms of sim racing, in terms of even the TCR machines either. He has shown some great pace whenever he gets into one of those cars, and of course this season he has had some good results. Of course he's missed a couple, he's had a few poor goes at it as well. He's just trying to maximise his points towards the end of this season. Currently running in 6th with Downing behind. Downing has had pace all season long, but the consistency, those solid results have not always come his way. It puts him a little bit further back in that championship, but he goes to the outside of Oucher, and Oucher's actually like, do you know what? Yeah, go for it. You've got the speed here. You could catch Borkland. You could take the fight to Kim Borkland and potentially help us both in that championship fight going into the finale next week at Zandvoort. So what that does mean is Downing is now ahead of Oucher in 6th and 7th position. Oucher is trying to push it on. The two teammates are Titchener and De Jong running on behind as well, watching this fight. And your leading Pro-Am, Chris London, is within this at the rear end of the train of drivers as well. as we jump back up towards the front here. How hard are our semi-pro leaders going to push Gordon Haig into the final 4 laps of this one? Well, they've got the pace. Hardy particularly, he's the fastest man out on track, and that gap is less than 0.3 of a second now. I think that for what would be the first time this season, there is potential for a non-pro winner this season. We're going to have to wait and see how it turns out. This is side by side between Walters and De Jong. De Jong on the inside. Walters has gone for the overtake on the long way round. He gets onto the grass out of turn 2. He won't be happy with that, but was he forced there? Did he overdrive himself? He'll be under attack now from Chris London. London finds himself into the top 10. This is crucial, not just for points, but for race to pole position. Chris London finds himself inside the top 10. He goes to the inside of De Jong. De Jong is going to try and keep it side by side through 5 and 6. Almost for a moment, it looked like Walters was going to try and make it 3 wide. He doesn't. He sees the side by side ahead. There's contact. And Chris London loses a lot of time with that. He's under attack now from McIntosh on what could have been an invert in race 2. He's down to 11th, under attack from McIntosh and out of the fight for the top 10. It's going to be to the inside for Chris McIntosh and another tap for Chris London. He's forced off the road. John Brown moves through, and within a case of a lap, Chris London goes from 9th position at one point down to 13th position. 2 bits of contact that has put him off the racing line. Down the order for the 665 machine. Ben Oucher and Daniel Downing. They're looking at trying to catch Borkland, but even with Downing ahead, Borkland is just carrying so much speed at the front of this one. 3 minutes left to go in the first of 2 races this evening in the penultimate round of competition. Gordon Haig is leading your overall race. Carl Hardy leading your semi-pros, but very much within an opportunity to take home an overall race victory at this stage of asking. Peter Van Gool started second, running great in third. The Result Clothing team has eaten something amazing for breakfast the last few weeks, because their results have been phenomenal over the course of the last few weeks, with Peter Van Gool taking 2 class victories, Hardy taking 1. Can they go? Well, they are going for another one here tonight ahead of Tony Walker. Are they going for the first overall race victory? Can it be in race number 1 that we see a semi-pro win for the first time this season? We've seen it happen twice in race 2. Bradley Sellers, Ronald de Jong have been able to take that feat. Issues for Daniel Lewis and Luke James on the previous lap of asking. Lewis was slow into 1, and it's a massive accident. And somehow that was, I believe, Christian Larson. What a moment that was. And that has allowed Torburn Mail to get quite close in. What a big moment there between the boys. And it means that Lewis and James, Lewis having a bad evening anyway, is now out of race number 1. Luke James follows him down. It puts Chris Evans onto the podium in class, and that, of course, was from race victory in the amateur field. Luke James has just been taken out of what could have been for James a third class win of the season. It's looking to be a second going the way of Christian Larson. Back up towards the front then as we approach the white flag lap. Hardy has 1 more lap to do it. He has closed in throughout the course of this race. That gap was up to about 0.7 of a second at one point. It's the biggest the gap has been. The smallest it has been is right about now. This is close going on to the white flag lap. Gordon Haig leading the way, the 911 machine. Carl Hardy running around in 2nd position overall. He wants to take what would be a 3rd class win of the season. Can it be an overall race win? Is he going to push for it? Is he just going to say, do you know what? 2nd position is great points. Let's not risk it. We come out of turn number 2. Hardy closing through the corner to Haig. Haig gets a good exit here, but you can see that interval on the left. It is closing ever so slightly the way of Kyle Hardy. What are we going to see up towards the breaking point of 4? For a moment, Hardy looked to the inside. That's really your last proper overtaking opportunity unless you can force a mistake from the driver in front of you. We ride on board with your race leader, Gordon Haig. He looks back at the podium. Walker just a little bit off this fight, but the Result Clothing team are really taking the fight right now to the Sim Racing Norway by Polyakemi team in the lead of this one. Through turn number 9, we're entering now what will be the final opportunity. Setting yourself up for 11, making a last-ditch effort into the carousel. Are we going to see it? We are not going to see it. Hardy gets close to the rear end, but for the second time in overall race results, Gordon Haig is going to take victory, and it is the double podium in semi-pros and overall for the Result Clothing team. Kyle Hardy wins out of Peter Van Gool. It's then a jump down to Chris London, who wins your Pro-Am field across the line. 3 of them racing here. London winning, Price coming second in class, and Christian Larsen just needs to keep another one of the Sim Racing Norway machines behind through turn number 13. Christian Larsen, for the second time this season, is going to win the amateur field, and again inheriting that lead following an accident for the race leader in class. Doesn't matter how you get it, it's the fact that you get it that really matters. What a result for all of our drivers in that one. Let us, in just a moment, talk you through your full race results from the first of 2 races today. And remember, your top 10 are going to be flipped on their head going into the final race of the evening. 25 minutes on the board for that one. Right then, let me select everything so that it is correct. There we go. Let's have a little look at the results then from the first race of the day here at Mid-Ohio. It was victory, which is victory number 3 in class for Gordon Haig. It is victory number 2 for Gordon Haig overall, and then it was victory for Kyle Hardy, number 3 for him in class as well, beating his teammate Peter Van Gool across the line. Tony Walker rounding out your semi-pro podium. It was then Buckland and Downing 2nd and 3rd in class. They came home 5th and 6th overall, with Ben Oucher in 7th. Dennis Titchler took home 8th position ahead of Ronald de Jong. It was Craig Walters rounding out your top 10. In 11th position, Chris McIntosh finished in the number 11 machine. Managed to beat John Brown by 0.3 of a second. Chris London then took home 3 victories in a row now in the Pro-Am field. And for Chris London, it is 3 victories this season. Bradley Sellers comes home 14th overall, not what the leading championship, well, the championship leader in your semi-pros would be hoping for, of course. Marko Mikalainen finished home in 15th at the end, beaten by Sellers by the end of it. David Price came home 2nd in class in 16th overall, ahead of JB Deshay, Fraser Geraghty and Dec Crowther. Christian Larsen rounded out your top 20 and managed to take victory in class for the second time this season. Like I said, he managed to do it. Snetterton race number 2 when Matt Pearce crashed himself out of the lead. This time it was Luke James crashed out. Sorry, not Luke James, should I say? No, I should say Luke James. It was Luke James crashed out of the lead of your amateur field, and it meant that Christian Larsen once again was able to benefit. Doesn't matter how you get there, it's the fact that you get there. It's 2 class wins for Christian Larsen. Torben Mail then took 2nd in class, and Chris Ovens took home that final podium position in the amateur field. A lap down following their contact with Daniel Lewis and Luke James. Early issues for Josh Taylor. Solo accident for him. made him come down pit lane. He got his car fixed, got back out on track to finish 25th position overall. That is your results from race number 1, and we prepare to go racing for the second race of the day here at Mid-Ohio. Your top 10 from race number 1 are going to be inverted, which places Craig Walters on pole position. Gordon Haig will be starting in 10th place. After all of that then, it's been a fantastic race so far for the man of Carl Hardy and his teammate Peter Van Gool. We'll talk to Carl Hardy though out of that one because Carl, you were running behind Gordon Haig all race long. You have shown great pace getting past your teammate early in that one, but where on earth has your pace come from? Because both you and your teammate are suddenly right at the very front, and you have been for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's the swap from the Honda. The Honda in the fixed is it's not very good. So we had to do the change just to make it so we could race, really. Yeah, that's where the pace is it. That's, you know, that is it. It's just the car.
You say it's just a car. You are having to drive that car, of course, and you did do a great job in matching the pros. You really kept Gordon Haig uncomfortable at the front there. You've got the invert, so you're no longer starting wide at the front. You're starting in 9th position on the grid. How do you feel about that? Do you think you're going to be able to work your way through? Is it just about being sensible? Because, of course, both you and your teammate have had some issues in these reversers.
Yeah. So it's basically all on the start. We go from there. So if I get a good start like that last one, happy days, and I should make a couple of places. But if not, then it's really hard to overtake here. You've got to wait for a slight mistake before you make that move. Otherwise, I'll just sit where I am and just lap. Because there's no point. Otherwise, you're just going to take people out. So it's too risky.
I look forward to seeing how you take race number 2 then. Well done on an overall podium. And, of course, for yourself, it's a third-class win of the season. Great job.
Cheers, Joseph. Cheers.
Carl Hardy there, winning that semi-pro field, getting home a second overall. We prepare to go out racing for the second and final time this evening. I hope that you guys are looking forward to this one, because I certainly am. It is going to be a race in which we see Carl Hardy, that semi-pro driver, starting ahead of Gordon Haig. Haig has been able to pull back a number of times in race number 2, of course. He's taken 1 win over the course of the season in race 2. That was back at Silverstone. Dan Mole went on to win race 1. Haig took the invert win. Over the course of the season, Kim Borkland is the only driver who has taken class win in your pros in race 1 and race number 2. Over the course of this season, though, no one has been able to win race 1 and race 2 in your overall race results. Will that change today? Haig has got pace out there, but we saw that he wasn't able to pull away from the drivers behind. I think this is going to be a lot harder than we've seen in previous races for our inverted field of drivers. That being said then, let's have a look at how that grid is going to line itself up here in the second race of the day. Craig Walters finished race 1 in 10th. He will be starting this one on pole position ahead of Ronald Dion. Demis Titchler will be in 3rd position ahead of your highest pro, Ben Oucher, in 4th. It's then Daniel Downing starting in 5th position ahead of Kim Borkland, 6th on the grid. 7th will go the way of Tony Walker ahead of Peter Van Gool. Carl Hardy will be 9th on the grid, and Gordon Haig, your race 1 winner, will be starting 10th. It's then going to be 11th for Chris McIntosh, missing out on the invert, as did a fellow pro driver, John Brown. It's then going to be Chris London, your highest Pro-Am driver, starting in 13th, 2 places ahead of David Price. Bradley Sellers will be in 14th, ahead of Mikalainen, alongside that 16th place Price. JB DeJ will be starting in 17th position, and Fraser Geraghty will be 18th on the grid. Dec Crowther will be starting 19th ahead of your slew of amateurs. All 4 of your amateurs on the same screen there, not quite all together though. Christian Larson will be starting in 20th after a race 1 win. Mayo in 21st ahead of Evans. Daniel Lewis will be starting in 23rd ahead of the man who was leading the semi-pro field of, the amateur field of drivers, I should say, before the accident with the semi-pro of Daniel Lewis. It'll be Luke James, 24th on the grid, and he did make it to the end following his first lap excursion. Josh Taylor will be starting at the very back of the field. 25th place in the second and final race of the day. Let's hope we have a fantastic evening of racing once more. We've only got a couple of seconds left to go before our drivers will stare at the lights. There they are, 25 minutes on the board for race number 2. Drivers look towards turn number 1. Craig Walters on pole. We are away and we are green here at Mid-Ohio for race number 2. We head up towards turn number 1 and it was all clean in race number 1. Is it going to be all clean in race number 2? Of course, there are going to be fights for our inverted field to try and make their way through the field here. It's side by side between De Jong and Walters at the front. De Jong looking to try and take the lead away. It is 2 by 2 behind as well. We stick with your leaders for the time being. De Jong pulling ahead of Walters as we exit turn number 2 up towards a kink of 3. De Jong will have the inside line here as we get up towards the braking zone. Oucher is side by side with Borkland behind. They're looking for 5th position off of the start of this one into 4. It's going to be De Jong's way. Walters has to drop in behind. Borkland to the inside of Oucher through turn number 5. It's a wobble there from Titchener as he touched the back end of Walters. It is going to be Borkland on the outside of Oucher. They come together. A little bit of a touch there into the S's. They remain side by side on the fight for second in class. Daniel Downing touches Titchener. Titchener's into the gravel. Contact between Borkland and Oucher. Oucher gets tucked up the inside. Borkland with the slide even carries the speed and gets into 4th position off the line. Haig up to 9th off the start of this one. And that is because we see the demise of Titchener all the way down to 21st position. Borkland stays ahead of Oucher out of the start of the end of lap number 1, the start of lap number 2 here. Walker to the inside of Oucher to try and benefit from Oucher's slow run through the exit of the carousel. Here comes Peter Van Gool now looking to try and take points on offer. Carl Hardy looking to find his way through as well. These are the 3 semi-pros that got the class podium in race 1. It is going to be Van Gool up the order into 6th, Water down to 7th, Hardy in 8th. De Jong and Walters, your 2 semi-pros leading the field of the first lap of asking, but Downing, Borkland and Oucher in the hunt behind to try and find their way towards the front. Carl Hardy said that he wasn't going to push too hard. He is sitting in 8th position right now, just waiting to see what comes to him. A big slide from Walker. Walker's going to have to try and be sensible coming back on. He gives up the position to Hardy. He runs wide and that has caused spinning. Behind contact. David Price then included in that one. Gordon Haig. Gordon Haig was one of the cars around in all of that one. Race number 1 winner. Gordon Haig will have to be down pit lane. Damage to his cars. Cars absolutely scatter up towards turn number 9. It has been disaster for a number of the cars in this one as we head up towards turn 11 here. They've settled themselves down now, but Gordon Haig will have to come down pit lane. We're going to have to watch what happened there in this fight because it was contact. McIntosh on Haig. Haig then hit by the Blitz Boys machine. I think it was Chris London that was caught up in that damage as well. A real shame. It was absolute carnage going through there. They've all settled themselves down now. However, it is Ronald De Jong leading the way. De Jong has taken 1 overall race victory so far this season. He did it back at Imola. He's looking to do it again here today because he is 1 second clear on Craig Walters. Walters now under pressure from pro leader Daniel Downing. Walters goes defensive. Downing goes to the outside to try and do an alternate line into 4, set up a move potentially over the crest here, but it's not really the best of overtaking locations. Even trying to get your nose in can lead to disaster, as we saw on the previous lap of asking. Van Gool and Hardy up to 6th and 7th position in this race so far. Can they try and follow the pro drivers ahead up the order? Downing gets to the inside of Walters as we go through the kink of turn number 10 up towards the switch to the left. Walters has the inside. Downing going to try and carry it around the outside. It'll give him the inside line through the carousel here as Oucher goes deep on Borkland and pushes Borkland wide, and Oucher makes the overtake work into 5th position overall. Borkland not happy with that. He did not like the fact that he was pushed all the way out to the outside of the carousel. It's cost him 4th position right now. Daniel Downing has moved into 2nd overall. He needs to close up a 1.5 second gap to De Jong. Borkland not happy with Oucher's move, has made a nice easy move up towards turn number 2. And with that being said, we're 5 minutes into this race. We now go into our usual race length of 20 minutes. That means that drivers are going to be looking at this race and thinking, where can we find those last few positions, get up the order, make some advantages work? Well, JB Dejay thinks turn number 4 could be his advantage. He's side by side with the leading Pro-Am driver, David Price, because Chris London, who won race number 1, that was... Yep, Daniel Lewis into the wall. Whoa, do you know what? I was absolutely speechless at all of that. Lewis missing his braking zone. Massive jump across the gravel into the wall with a big hit. That was definitely an avoidance. He jumped to the grass to avoid the drivers. Something going on with Daniel Lewis today. I think it's some sort of brake issue. He was really slow in race 1 and no brakes there in race 2 at all. For Daniel Lewis, a real shame indeed. A big hit with the wall, out of the race immediately for him. What I was going to say though, of course, with Chris London down in that contact in the opening lap of asking, this is your leader in David Price in your Pro-Am field. That was Titchler getting to the inside of Josh Taylor though. Taylor could try and take the Pro-Am lead. We'll have to wait and see. Markin Mikalainen has had issues. He's hit by the 665 machine of Chris London. He finds himself off at turn number 4. As drivers are trying to push for any positions possible. Of course, if they do push past drivers and there's a little bit of contact, well, face the wrath of penalties is what I would say. And there were, of course, penalties, as always, out of last week. We didn't really touch on them, but there were 6 penalties that were dished out last week, including 2 drivers we said have been doing a really good job. Peter Van Gool, race number 2, he took 11 penalty points to his championship following some contact last week. Ben Oucher took some penalty. He would take the points out of race number 1 today, just so we keep an eye on how that is all playing out as well. We do need to keep an eye on all of our championship points, of course, because we go into the finale in just a week's time. So for all of our drivers that are within those championship fights, those penalty points are not things that they want to be picking up. So they're going to be taking it a little bit easy tonight, including from Carl Hardy, who has moved up to 7th position, as we say. He's following his teammate Peter Van Gool up the order. He's not over driving it though. Podium in race number 1, 7th in race number 2. It would be great points because championship leader Bradley Sellers still behind. Has made his way into a top 10 right now, but very much in the middle of nowhere. There's a massive gap of almost 2 seconds ahead. There's a gap of almost 3 seconds behind. He's got no one with him out on track right now. Ben Oucher does have Daniel Downing with him, because Kim Borkland has moved through to the lead of the Pro-Ams, and they have caught themselves up to Craig Walters' 2nd in overall race. Ronald de Jong is only a 2nd up the road. They are catching into that one as well in all of this. So there's definitely a few changes in terms of race leads coming. I do think we might see Borkland hunt for what would be overall win number 3, class win number 5, but only overall win number 3 in the 18 races. That's what it means to be consistent, rather than winning and then having a bad race 2, or just having one good race and one bad race. You do need to have the consistency. That's what Kim Borkland has. He has the results in both races. Of course, this season a little bit easier, I would say, for our invert field, only the top 10. We had top 15 last season. Titchler has had some issues. It's contact with David Price and broken suspension. How did that one kick off? They're side by side through turn number 5. Price sticks it to the inside in 6. That's never going to work. There's just not enough door room width there. Unfortunately, contact. And for Titchler, that'll be day done. You can see him trying to get that car going again, but it just won't turn right. Major suspension damage on his machine. Oucher behind Downing once again. This is how they finish race number 1, of course. Oucher almost allowing Downing through to try and catch up to Borkland in race 1. Is he going to try and follow Downing again in race number 2? All their hope now is that Borkland might have issues getting past Walters and De Jong. That being said, Walters is closing up to De Jong. That gap down 0.2 of a second on the previous lap of asking. So there's definitely potential here for Walters to go for a fight with De Jong. And if they do fight it out, is Kim Borkland just going to swoop on through and do a through goes Hamilton sort of moment if they do start fighting at the front of this one? 15 minutes left on the board here, 10 minutes completed. We're coming up towards the 8th out of 18 predicted laps on my system. We come through turn number 9 and up along the back straight into the kink of 10. Borkland very much all over the rear end of Walters, sticks a nose up for just a moment into turn number 11 to try to get to the inside of the breakdancer's machine. He won't be able to do so, and it will be Walters keeping himself ahead. Like I said, still catching up though towards Ronald De Jong. We sit on the back end of the breakdancer's car. We can see the train of drivers chasing through that goes all the way down to John Brown in 9th position before the big almost 2-second gap to Bradley Sellers. That gap actually though looks like it might be closing just a little bit. The gap to Fraser Geraghty and Bradley Sellers has almost doubled. In fact, it has doubled. Big gap now between Geraghty and Sellers. Sellers looking ahead and thinking, come on, duke it out a little bit. Let me get involved in this one. Dec Crowther is going to be side by side with Deshay. Deshay trying to get it all the way around the outside. Not quite working out there. McIntosh now looking to take the fight to Fraser Geraghty as we come up towards turn number 4. The 11 over the 5. He goes to the outside. He's going to try this the long way around onto the brakes of turn number 4. He's going for the alternate line here. Deshay up the inside of Crowther behind. It is going to be Deshay stuck there on the outside line. And it's going to be Crowther who keeps his nose ahead and gets his car placed into 13th once more. 14th for Deshay. Just up ahead though, Geraghty has kept McIntosh at bay as we come through turn number 9. Back up towards the front though, and Daniel Downing looks like he might try and mount a charge onto Borkland right now because they are still following up towards Ronald De Jong. This is now a 9-car fight, I am going to have to say, for the lead. De Jong is closing up towards his teammate in Titchler. How does Titchler play this? Is he going to be playing the team game? Is he going to be just getting out the way of everyone? Borkland looked to the inside of Walters. Walters knew what was coming. He held that tight line. Not squeezing Borkland out, but Borkland knew if he was going to try and make that overtake, there was definitely going to be contact. Penalty coming his way, but perhaps in that one. So he's backed out of it. He's going to wait behind for the time being as we head up towards turn number 4 yet again in this 9-car fight for the race lead. Borkland over Walters. The pros of Downing and Oucher behind. Then it's Van Gool and Hardy, 6th, 7th, and then Walker in 8th. They were your 3 podium sitters in your semi-pro in race number 1. John Brown sits in 9th right now. Sellers has found his way into a top 10, but he's 2 seconds off of this train of drivers. We come out of turn number 9 and up the inside goes Borkland. He makes the way past Walters and Downing and Oucher. No, they cannot ease off now. They've got to make the move through as well. Downing goes to the inside through the carousel. It'll be the long way round through the final corner. There's a nudge between them. Through comes Ben Oucher to the inside up towards turn number 1. Oucher now looking to try and get the 4th position off of Downing. They're side by side through 1. It's going to be the slow line there from Oucher. It's going to be a look from Van Gool and from Hardy. It is 3 wide up towards turn 2. Hardy does not back out of it. There's a touch from Van Gool. It's a touch into Oucher. It's a touch into Hardy. Van Gool comes out on top. He tried to back out. I don't know if you can place blame there on Van Gool or not, but I can definitely say that Brown is shouldering his way into this fight up towards turn number 4, and Tony Walker is into the wall. And he's into the wall with Carl Hardy. A shame, a real shame for both drivers. Hardy gets himself turned around. He knows he's got a couple of cars let through. Walker looking to get back on track up ahead, but Walker has got major damage. Hardy is trying to stay behind Walker in their return. He doesn't want to take advantage, but Walker has got broken suspension damage. Hardy just needs to get back on track and racing again. He's already given up way too much time than what he needed to by being off the track there, but he was hoping by giving up the time. He might have got a penalty, and there are issues for Walker. Almost collected by Mika Leinen, somehow, some way avoided there. Oh, look at the speed of that accident, and for Hardy, it was just an overcorrection. Very fortunate he didn't roll in that machine. This is how it all kicked off a little bit further up the straight, of course. It was Brown getting himself in there, and it was very much battering and bumping their way through. Hardy's all the way to the left. I'd say that, you know what, that might be on Walker. I don't think Hardy had anywhere to go. He might have drifted slightly to the right, but I just don't think Hardy had anywhere left to go in that one. Peter Van Gool, though, is looking to try and follow through up the front. It's opened that gap up, of course, with all of our drivers. And now we come into turn number 4 for Peter Van Gool. He's running around in 5th position. It is Kim Borkland, your leading pro driver, still chasing down De Jong. You've got Walters there. You've got Downing there as well. All of them very much involved in this one. De Jong is still following his teammate of Titchler. Titchler isn't slow by any means or stretch of the imagination. He was just caught up in early issues, which is what has put him down towards the, well, almost a lap down off your leader here. For Titchler then, is he going to just keep on trying to give De Jong the tow, the slipstream, to keep him ahead of Borkland? I think that is currently the plan that has been going on between the two of them, because there has been no attempt of Titchler to be slowing down over the last few laps. That is going to be De Jong over driving through turn number 1, though. He picks up grass. Borkland goes for the inside. Defensive line from De Jong, but Auckland is going to go for the lead on the outside. There's a touch between the two of them. The outside line is not going to work out the way that Borkland would have hoped. He has to drop in behind De Jong once more. 8 minutes still left in this race. Borkland does not have to overdrive. At the end of this one, we're still looking at about 6 more to go. De Jong is going to try his hardest to defend, but Borkland does not have to push it. He knows he can just wait, maybe a couple of laps, just follow on through, see where the overtaking, where the opportunities arise. He needs to be focused more in front of him than his mirrors, of course. Perhaps easier said than done here in the commentary booth with Walters and Downing breathing down his neck right now. For De Jong, though, he's got a train of cars breathing down his neck as we come out of turn number 9. And up towards the end of the lap, as I have a little bit of a look further back, Chris McIntosh is chasing down Deshay and Taylor. 3 different classes, all going for overall race positions. It is Fraser Garrity leading that train. A little bit of a gap just ahead, though. But it is then Taylor, Deshay and McIntosh just behind. McIntosh could have an opportunity to try and get past Deshay here as we head up towards turn number 12 in the carousel. He gets all over the rear bumper of that Audi. If we exit through turn number 13, is McIntosh, the pro driver, going to put the pressure on the semi-pro in Deshay. We come through turn number 1, and there certainly is the hope here for McIntosh. He looks towards the outside now, in towards turn 2. He wants to get up to 11th, try to do something with the points here. Gordon Haig running around in 18th right now, just trying to get any more points onto his name to help him out in the championship. I think that Borkland may have all but done it here. As I said, that his plan was for this evening going into the final round in a week's time. McIntosh pulls to the left-hand side. He's going to try and get around the outside of JB Deshay here as he switches across an alternate line up towards turn number 5. Once again, he tucks in behind, trying to put Deshay onto maybe slightly overdrive himself into one of these corners, force himself off the circuit. It's not going to work, though. Deshay is not going to be scared off in that 621 machine, and he keeps the 11 at bay. as we come through the back end of the lap. Back towards the front though, because De Jong still has the pressure behind him. We've got 5 more laps to go as we head along the front straight and up towards turn number 1. The number 91 machine is leading the way, as he has done since early doors in this one. Of course, it was pole position for this second race by Craig Walters, who's currently running around in 3rd position. But for Ronald de Jong, he runs around at the front of this order, starting, of course, 2nd on the grid. He quickly made his way into race lead. Kim Borkland finished race number 1 in 5th position. He started this one in 6th. He's worked his way up to 2nd. Can it be for race victory once more? For Borkland, he's won 4 times in class. Only 2 of those have been overall victories. Can he make it a 3rd here? Less than 5 minutes to go as we continue to ride on board with the Audi of Ronald de Jong at the front of the order. Borkland, Walters, Downing and Van Gool chasing in behind as well. The podium in your semi-pro field once again outclassing the podium of your pro field as it stands, and Ben Oucher 3 seconds behind this fight right now. We come into the carousel. It is very close for Borkland. Is he going to be able to place a nose towards the inside? No, but the sudden brakes caused Walter to slam on his brakes a little bit more, which then opened the door here for Van Gool on Daniel Downing. It is side by side for 4th position. Downing gets to the inside, to the outside, sorry, it's going to be the inside for Van Gool to try and make the overtake work. The outside line carrying more speed though for the pro driver. Van Gool swaps across. Downing goes defensive. Van Gool gets back to the outside. He's going to try and hang it around the outside, get the power down, potentially carry a bit of speed. They've fallen off of the podium fight. But Van Gool would like the 4th position away from Daniel Downing if he can take it. Off of the pro driver, Josh Taylor in your pro-ams is overtaken by JB Deshay. Is McIntosh going to be able to place his nose up the inside to try and make the move through as well? No, McIntosh has to stay behind and not make any overtakes just yet. He'll be looking to try and get a 11th position if possible up towards turn number 4. That opportunity is not going to come his way. Marko Mikalainen gets past Chris Evans, who's running 2nd in the amateur field. Luke James, after losing the amateur win in race 1, is going to look like he's going to take it here. Big late braking zone there from Evans. He dives to the inside of Mikalainen. There's a little bit of contact. Chris Evans does make the way through for 17th though, but that was a very late move there, very ambitious move. A little bit of a nudge from the 2 drivers, but Evans places his car ahead of Mikalainen as we come up towards turn number 9. The 2 Lanciers take the fight to each other here with less than 3 minutes left to go, and as our race leaders go on to the 16th lap of asking, 2 more laps to go for these drivers as they head towards the timing line. Back up towards the front here. De Jong goes deep in towards turn number 2, as these are your final 3 drivers that really have a good opportunity at this one. Daniel Downing 6/10 back. I wouldn't discount him, but I wouldn't count him in either. Borkland has dropped off once more, just a touch to De Jong. Can De Jong take home a 2nd overall race victory here for in class? It'll be a 3rd win, but it could be a 2nd overall since Imola. In fact, he did it at the 10th round of asking, so 10th race of asking, I should say, round number 5. Can he do it here? The 18th race of the season, round number 9 at Mid-Ohio, before we head across to Zandvoort for the final round in just 1 week's time. Deshay over the rear end of Garrity here, potential for 9th and 10th position fighting. It's not going to go that way just yet though, as we exit turn number 6 and head into the S's. Less than a minute and a half is going to be on the board when our race leaders come to the timing line. In fact, there we go. That would have been a lap, so they are going to be a few seconds short here as we go on to the white flag lap of asking. Ronald de Jong keeping Kim Borkland at bay. Peter Van Gool is the man chasing in all the way behind here as we head up towards turn number 2. Are we going to see any moves ahead for the race lead as we head into the hairpin. Once again, it's deep there from De Jong. He carries the speed on the exit though, and that is what is so crucial in this race, is the speed that is being carried on the exit of turn number 2 on the run down towards turn 4. De Jong is only half a lap away now from a second overall win of the season. Josh Taylor gets to the inside of Chris McIntosh as they continue to fight it out for 11th. He is able to defend it through turn number 2. McIntosh stays behind in 12th position. As we head up towards 4, this could be an opportunity for McIntosh as he looks to the outside line. Is he going to be able to make the move on the outside? Taylor's going to try and defend it. McIntosh carries it through on the outside of 4. It'll set him up for the inside in 5. Taylor is going to be stuck on that outer line over the hill. Is he going to put his nose into the inside? For a moment, it looked like he might. He didn't in the end. We head up then to the final turn. Ronald De Jong is going to catch up to Titchener. Is this Titchener going to let them through? No, it is going to be checkered for De Jong. He wins overall. Kim Borkland takes a 5th win in class. Still only 2 overall victories over the course of this season. And for Josh Taylor, he looks to come and take... That was issues on the end. JB Deshay and Fraser Garrity. Deshay jumped up the inside of Garrity. It was a penalty, I believe, going the way of Garrity. De Jong pulls to the side. Deshay pulls to the side, I should say. He comes back on track. It was class victory for Josh Taylor in race number 2. And after getting taken out in race number 1, Luke James comes back to take home race victory number 3 in the amateur field. It's 15th overall. We'll talk you through your full race results here at the second race of Asking in the penultimate round of the season. Before we do though, what a great evening of racing that has been once more. Once we talk through your race results, make sure you stick around. We'll get a word in with a couple of our drivers in that one. I'm sure there are a few that you want to listen to and hear from. There's a few that I want to hear from as well over the course of that one, because it was a bit of a mixed bag for a few drivers. Some good results from a few others. But that being said, as we finish race number 2, here are your full race results. Ronald De Jong took home overall victory for the second time this season, winning in the semi-pro field. It was then class victory for your pro driver in Kim Borkland. That's the 5th time he's won the class. He has only won overall twice. Craig Walters comes home in 3rd position, just ahead of Daniel Downing, and Peter Van Gool recovered for a top 5 after starting 8th on the grid. Ben Oucher finished in 6th, clear of John Brown. Bradley Sellers worked his way up to 8th. Good news for the semi-pro championship leader heading into tonight. Chris McIntosh finishing in 9th, ahead of Josh Taylor, who took home class victory in the Pro-Ams following Chris London's demise. London was on a streak of 3 race wins in a row before the contact in that second race of the day. Then it was 11th overall for Carl Hardy before 12th overall for Luke James. He should have taken victory in race number 1. It was victory in race number 2. It is the first time that James has won on track this season in the amateur field. Both at the previous times he was promoted to race victory because of the previous amateur winner being promoted into the Pro-Am field. So when he won back at Mugello, he was not officially a winner at that time, nor at Nürburgring. Today, however, he is officially your race winner in your amateur field. Gordon Haig recovered for 13th in the end, ahead of David Price. Chris Evans coming home 15th, ahead of Marco Mikalainen. Christian Larson in 17th, ahead of Torben Mayo. JB Deshay came home 19th following that last lap accident. Chris London in 20th position overall. Daniel Lewis then came across the line in 21st position after a big hit into the wall for him. It was then Demis Titchler in 22nd position. Fraser Geraghty, a lap down in the end, retiring on the final lap of asking following the contact with De Shea. 23rd position. Tony Walker, 24th, also a lap down. Dec Crowther out of the race early, 25th position. Right, we'll get our interviews up in just a moment, but to remind you all, we go into the final round of asking in just a week's time. So make sure that you are joining us for that one to make sure you get notified for the broadcast. And if you're wherever you're watching, hit the subscribe button, hit that follow button. Make sure that you are notified for the final round of competition of season number 11 in 1 week's time. We go out for season number 12 the week after. No pre-seasons. We head straight into race number 1. Right then, let's have a talk with a couple of our drivers out of that one. We spoke to his teammates at the end of race number 1. We have to speak to Peter at the end of race number 2. It was 3rd position for you in race 1, Peter. It was then a great 5th position for you in race number 2. You found some great pace lately. It wasn't another win. You've taken 2 wins in the previous 2 weeks, but 2 podium positions in class. What an evening of racing.
What an evening indeed. Yeah, I'm just getting up to pace with this car. So, yeah, and it's showing off a bit as well. That's already, it's always very nice. But yeah, I really enjoyed tonight racing. It was a bit of a Constantina here and there, but all in all, good results. And I think we maybe gained another place in the teams, if I'm not sure.
Well, the team, yeah, as a whole has been doing great. Now, though, of course, we had a poor start to the season. The last time that I think we saw you have a bad run, we saw you on your roof at turn number 1 at Mugello. And then you jumped across into the Audi, of course, out of the Honda, and that change just seems to have done something for you. As I say, in the last 3 weeks of asking, you took home victory at race 1 at Snetterton, victory race 1 at Thruxton, and you were 2nd and then 3rd in class here today. Great results.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed with the change of cars. I normally drive the Honda on an open setup, but the fixed setup is just not really a nice car to drive. So switching to the Audi now, it's just so easy car to drive. Loads of power on the exit out of corners. And yeah, well, the change is paying off. So I hope to be back for next season and trying to get a semi-pro podium overall somewhere.
I think there's definitely potential for it going into next season in the Audi to start with. Continue the pace that you've been running over the last few weeks. I'd say that a championship is on contention for you. I really would say that, with some great results, some consistent results as well, which is key because, of course, your teammate Hardy took home victory in race number 1, but then he was caught up in an accident. And I think that is where it really matters between race 1 and race number 2. Yes, you can take a win, but you've got to get both results. You did that today, a 2nd and a 3rd.
Yeah, well, good result for the team. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you for all the exciting commentary. I always watch back the races and watch the stream. So compliments to you there, sir.
Thank you so much, and compliments to you for making the racing so fantastic to commentate over. Peter Van Gool, double podium in class, of course, on the overall podium in race 1 as well. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Peter Van Gool there. He spoke to his teammate Carl Hardy at the end of race number 1. Talked about just keeping it clean into race 2. Wasn't able to do that. Big accident there, of course, between the two of them. It was a nice fight for a few other drivers throughout the mix there. It's been a hard evening of racing for a lot of them, of course, but it was, in the end, an overall win for Ronald de Jong in race number 2. He was just able to keep Kim Borkland at bay, but it was then Craig Walters who took full advantage of the invert field, and you kept yourself towards the front there, Craig, fighting it out. You held on to 3rd, less than half a tenth of a second clear of Daniel Downing by the start-finish line.
Yeah, I had a great race. Thanks for pulling me in. I didn't realize. I literally just found out this second you just pulled me in. But yeah, I had a great time. I I kept up with Downey, and that was brilliant. I let him pass me. And then we had a little bit of a nudge. I think it was a bit of net code there. I don't think it was on me. But yeah, he gave me plenty of flashing for the rest of the race. But super exciting for my cockpit. It was brilliant.
It was excellent to watch as well. Of course, at one point, there were 9 cars all fighting for the race lead in a massive train of drivers. You really kept the pace in that one, of course. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. You've got, championship contenders in your pro field chasing up towards you, but you kept your cool. You kept the fence really well, and you only lost out to De Jong at the beginning, Borkland in later on in the race. You kept on for an overall podium. A great evening of racing overall for you, and a top 10 in race 1 put you in that position, of course.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it, honest. Considering I didn't really put any practice in, and I've had about 3 weeks off. 2, maybe 3 weeks, I think it is that. But yeah, I think I put up a good show. I wasn't going to get bullied, that's for sure. So yeah, happy days. Great nights racing.
Excellent, and it was great watching from us as well. Congratulations to P10 in race 1 and a podium in race number 2. Congratulations, Craig Walters.
Thank you.
And finally, we will end off with the man of the hour in race number 2. You just popped in at the right time, Ronald, because I'm going to pull you down into the booth. You managed to put on a sterling defense in that one in race number 2. Second on the grid, you pulled yourself to the lead. You opened the gap up, but as it closed down, you did not relent and you kept Borkland at bay. What a race.
Yeah, it was so much fun. The start of race 1 was also, I was starting P15 and after lap 1 I was in P9, I think. So can't complain of today.
Certainly not. You put yourself in the brilliant position to get into the invert, of course. And it's not the first time you've gone for overall race win. You did it back at Imola at round number 5, of course. You've done it here again today, and you've kept behind not only, a pro driver, you've kept behind the championship leader in the pro field. How did you adjust your driving there? Because we saw that you were going at slightly different lines, maybe a little bit more aggressive on your defense that you would have done. You certainly made that car seem as wide as the track.
I've started, I've hit every apex, maybe a little bit slower, but just hit the apex and make sure he cannot pass. So that was my tactic, and it worked, and yeah.
The one apex I would say you didn't touch, turn number 2, you seem to do a very different line to almost everyone else. You went for a wider run through the line. Was that for the speed for the exit? Because it certainly looked like you carried a lot more speed running up towards turn 4.
Yeah, I did it to take it a little bit more wide, and then, yeah, so I can keep the speed. So I think Kim wasn't getting any closer at the start of the straight, at least. At the end he was, because he was in drag, but yeah. The beginning he wasn't, so.
You talk about the draft, of course you had Titchler, he was a lap down, but he was ahead of you on track. Was that almost strategic, keeping him ahead of you? Were you using him for tow through that race?
Yeah, at the start I used him at tow, but at a certain moment I had to fight with Kim, and then the gap was a little bit too big to be in draft, because I think the draft is around 1 second, and it was 1.5 seconds at the end or so.
Wow, an excellent job though. A top 10 in race number 1, and of course an overall victory in race 2. Congratulations, Ronald.
Thank you, Joe.
And we prepare for the final round of asking in just a week's time. We head across to Zandvoort on June 12th, the finale, the championships to be decided. Now, who is going to be involved in the championship fights for each of your 4 classes? Find out at the beginning of next broadcast. Or if you want to find out before then because you are impatient like me, make sure you join the SRL Discord, the QR code on your screen right now. The link also in the description of the SRL TV YouTube channel. Make sure you are joining that one and getting yourself over into the Discord. You can also get yourself signed up for season number 12. That begins on June 19th, a week after the final round in Zandvoort in just a week's time. So that'll be 2 weeks' time that we go out for season number 12. Here then at the wonderful Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It is evening done from SRL TV and Joseph Wright Broadcasting. We hope that you have enjoyed this evening's racing just as much as I have. In the commentary booth, we head out for one last time of Season 11 in a week when we go to Zandvoort. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you have a fantastic evening and a fantastic week ahead of you. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.